Hi, everyone. Welcome in Integrative Approaches and Healthier Living. I am Tami here with Coach Chris Bush. We are here today answering viewers' questions regarding food sensitivity and more specifically, how did I learn that I had food sensitivities? What was that like? And moving forward, we're going to create a three-part series for you so that we don't give you everything all at once. We're going to do bite-sized pieces. So, welcome in. And please let us know if you have any questions. And if you're liking what we're sharing today, like, comment, and please share our channel with others. Thanks so much.
So food sensitivities,
Food sensitivities.
backed by popular demand. We've had like a few people like mentioning that have been watching our channel that they wanted us to deep dive a little bit more into food sensitivities and what all that looks like, grind in a bit more on, eventually like how we went about and you went about figuring out what those things were, tracking those things down. But today, I'm going to just pass the mic over to you right now because you have a really cool backstory in regards to this, working with your practitioner and how you went about the beginning of the food sensitivities and how it was completely off your radar.
Exactly. So, living with chronic illness, cystic fibrosis, diabetes, just life in general, but seriously, living my entire life with CF. Most doctors don't really know how to treat us us being people with CF, when we present with different symptoms. The go-to is, oh, it must be your CF that's being exacerbated right now, so we need to treat the CF symptoms. But that's not always the case, especially the longer we live, and a lot of us are living longer. And it really takes work within ourselves and to find people that are willing to listen to us. And by people, I mean medical professionals. So, in communicating with one of my physicians, I was like, I was feeling really, really fatigued, like I had the zero energy. Um, that was the biggest thing. And then I also felt like I had the flu. It was flu-like symptoms. And being concerned for my lungs, I felt like I was constantly walking around with a thermometer in my mouth, checking to see if I was running a temperature. And I wasn't. It was like some days I was like 97.7 or 98.3. And
Right.
bottom line was, no, that wasn't it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
one of my doctors looked way outside the box and threw at me literally, maybe we need to check for food sensitivities. And I was like, what? I don't have food sensitivities. I've been eating the same stuff for umpteen years and I'm just fine. All the body parts work in that department, digestion, whatever. And she's like, I really think, you might benefit from it. And after some conversation with her, I reluctantly agreed to do a food sensitivity test. And much to my surprise, there was a whole lot of stuff on that list that I was eating every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. And yes, it was seriously impacting me to be able to live my life to the fullest capability that I possibly could.
Yeah, I remember that too. It was, I mean, not to get on that other topic, but with like you working with like, new drugs and different things like that, it really made a shift in this area. And yeah, things that you were not sensitive to before you had ate your entire life, um, as we would find out, were the some of the biggest culprits. Think some of the things that you loved, even the things with your morning coffee, that you just weren't able to, deal with anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It
So,
was it was not easy. It's not been an easy journey. I'm not going to lie, eliminating, finding new things to eat. And I know we're going to get into that because we're doing we're doing this in little bites.
The
bite-sized pieces
the food
here,
sensitivity
unintended
trilogy.
food related. We're doing so we're gonna do a three-part episode on the food sensitivity journey and primarily to keep it into bite-sized chunks so that we're not throwing too much out to the audience all in one time. And
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So do we want to like throw out a definitive difference between, because I know you had some notes on this, I had some notes on this. The
Yes,
difference
yes. I think
between,
it's very important. I think it's very important to explain the difference between a food sensitivity or intolerance versus a food allergy,
yeah, yes,
because
absolutely.
that's critical. It's very important
Yeah,
for people to
absolutely.
understand that.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I'll let you take that, Mr. Dr. Science on that side. Research. I should say call,
Well,
I
not
should
a
say
doctor,
Dr.
but
Research.
not a doctor. But yeah, like the big one, the key difference between the two is, food sensitivities generally will cause, can be cause brain fog, it can cause depression, it can cause, which are still very serious. Depression's a very serious thing, or can be a serious thing. Um, just low energy, like in your experience, indigestion, skin
Histamine
irritation.
responses, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
histamine responses.
runny nose, watery eyes,
Yes,
especially me with the lung issues. You start to get a little cough sometimes, or
yes, yes, absolutely.
congestion, right? So
Right, right.
all of these
But
things.
generally, though, like what we do see with food sensitivities is this, and this is probably more, not CF related, is, the other things. And you'll never see like a critical response like from food sensitivities. That's the big, definitive difference
Critical
between.
response being
So, anaphylaxis is, I
right.
believe, the technical term, and
Hmm.
that can be a life-threatening condition, where people can stop breathing, their heart can stop beating, and if not treated, of course, it can be fatal. So generally needs like some sort of medical care and quickly, to to take care of it. And the other thing about allergic responses is that sometimes they can start off small, and after each time the person has an allergic response to something, it can actually get more and more serious. So that's also a difference between food allergies and food sensitivities.
And just so we're clear, we're not talking about food allergies at any time during my story. We're
Right.
sticking strictly to intolerance and sensitivities
Yes,
where they're not
absolutely.
life-threatening that we need to be worried about,
Right, right,
calling 911 or
right.
anaphylactic shock or anything like
Right.
that. So,
Yeah. If anyone is like, experiencing, where they're having shortness of breath, they're feeling tightness in their chest or things of that nature, feeling like muscular tension or something in like, the shoulders, which could be an indicator of, like something going on in the chest area, or like the outside of the arm here is another area. It could be a pain in those areas, tightness in those areas, after they've ate something. That type of stuff, that you need to see a doctor for like right away. You should, if you're experiencing any sort of symptoms that are triggering those type of responses, then that's the best to like get to your doctor, have them run a food allergy test, and stop listening to this video.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Because
Stop
that's
listening to
something
this
totally
video.
different than what we're
Go
gonna.
straight to a doctor. Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yes.
that's something totally different that we're going to be discussing today. So, food sensitivities. To bring it back to the topic with you, um, I wanted you to expand a little bit, like, on what are some of the symptoms that you experienced specifically. Like, I know you talked briefly about like low energy. I know, like, also you had headaches. Sometimes you would have joint muscle aches as well, like almost again, like you were saying, flu-like symptoms. Um, Anything else that like you want to add to that, like that you personally experienced?
Yeah, early on, that was the most significant for me before I realized it was a food
Right,
sensitivity
right.
issue. Since then, it has evolved into watering eyes. So, no, let me take that back. So, one day when I was early on in this journey, I had a little bite, little teeny tiny bite of, and I'm not exaggerating on the size, a little tiny bite of a carrot cake at my husband's birthday party. And I was like, "Ugh, let me just taste this." And so I tasted it, and within a matter of seconds, my eyes started watering. I started coughing. I started sneezing, and I was like, "Holy cows!" All from this one, it was the sweets that I had not eaten in a very long time, and who knows what else. Don't know what was made in this cake, right? It was from
Right,
scratch,
right.
and looking back on it, I'm sure there was at least a handful of things I wasn't supposed to be eating in there, and my body let me know really quickly, don't you be eating any more of that stuff, girl. You're gonna be dealing with watery eyes and sniffling and sneezing and all of that kind of stuff. So
Right, right.
my body, I'm very attuned to it. So when I eat something, I usually know relatively quickly how I'm going to respond to it. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's for all of us just learning our body. But as I said before, I knew that's what my issue was. It was really the feeling like I had the flu and I had no energy, and
Right.
it wasn't. I almost reverted back to my years of when I learned I had a blood sugar over 900, and I was like, no,
Yep.
that's not fun. So
Yep.
that
You
was
know,
it.
it's interesting that you mentioned that too, because I've decided I wanted to dig a little bit more on the food sensitivities topic, because I have yourself and I have a few other clients that deal with food sensitivities. Um, but I was like, I just want to, look again at the research and what people are reporting out there. But speaking to the last point that you made, diabetics have been known that have food sensitivities to have like this feeling of like, having like abnormal spikes in blood sugar, or actually having abnormal spikes in blood sugar due to eating foods that they're sensitive to. So that's an interesting call out that you just kind of
And I've been
unpacked it a bit.
experiencing that off and on some myself over the past few months. I've eaten
Right.
something and I've like shot to, a number of like 250, which I know is
Yep.
not a ridiculously high number, but it's high for me
Right. Right.
and uncomfortable and unacceptable in my
Yeah.
estimation.
The
For
inter-
me, for my
yeah.
situation.
Absolutely. The interesting aspect of this too, and with it can be completely uncorrelated to carbohydrates. And so, like, it could be something that somebody is sensitive to that's a protein. It could be something that somebody is sensitive to that's a fat. This particular response has been reported by medical doctors. Yeah, can completely be not correlated to the person ingesting a carbohydrate that they're sensitive to. So, which is
Hmm.
I thought
Hmm.
was quite interesting in regards to diabetics. I know it was fascinating for me. It was definitely a learning lesson for me in regards to food sensitivities.
Right, right. There
Yep.
there really is a lot of research and a lot of information that I know we want to talk about a little bit later, but yes, I'm just going to stop there. So,
Yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah. No, yeah. Another couple of things I really want to call out in regards to the side effects of food sensitivities. Some actually that you and I have walked through together. One that might surprise you actually that I came across. One that I didn't know also was weakened grip strength. So I did not know that, but I know that that is something that you've been dealing with. Weakened grip strength is now becoming a much more commonly
Fascinating.
reported, yeah, commonly reported side effect of food sensitivities. So
Wow.
slow healing is another one. Also that was off my radar as well. That's not something I've dealt with clients before, but again, that's another one that has been recorded much more often nowadays with food sensitivities. A lot more physicians are paying attention to it. It's becoming much more of you know, um, a topic of interest, we would say, and a topic of research nowadays versus where it was at maybe even 5 years ago. So I think it's,
Well, that's wonderful because
yeah,
and that's why we're revisiting the subject, right?
yes,
Because
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that are interested in learning about it, and you know, it, how did I get to this spot?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
did what did I go through to get here to be sharing the story? And
Yes, absolutely.
and saying that, I'm gonna make myself cry. I feel like maybe this just came to me. I'm going through this because too much estrogen. So my my food sensitivity isn't as bad, but I'm going through this because other people needed to learn, and by me sharing my story and my journey, I'm going to be helping
That's
we
others.
by doing this are going to be helping a lot of other people who don't realize that this is what their struggles in life are, and it's easy, not easy. It's relatively easy. It's not a major surgery, right? We're not doing open heart surgery here or anything crazy like that, but
Right.
it's manageable is probably the best word. It's
Yes.
manageable
Yes.
once we know what's happening.
Yep, absolutely. Um, other common side effects of note, and I know you and I have both dealt with this, is weight gain,
Hmm.
specifically water weight gain, low energy. Of course, we just talked about that. Depression, anxiety, irritability, which is also a common one that I've come across. Brain fog, memory issues. That's a really common one, actually. Is brain fog, memory issues, not being able to remember things. Skin conditions, that's also a common one, and most people are well aware of those, especially if you've been battling with eczema. A lot of people that have, that I've worked with in the past, like got food sensitivities testing that had eczema, and when they avoided those foods, that cleared up their eczema, and which was really cool to see. Here's another one that's more serious: reduced mineral and vitamin absorption. So it can really, really play a huge part on your intestines being able to absorb minerals and vitamins. So, of course, this goes hand in hand with the next one, which is IBS related symptoms. Then there's reoccurring headaches. And I've seen all of these with clients. I'm actually working with somebody right now on this type of stuff. Muscle tightness, joint soreness, inflammation, and some doctors have reported to the point that it almost mimics like rheumatoid arthritis. So that can actually be pretty serious in regards to those types of things. So I wanted to mention those, all of those.
Fascinating. No,
Yeah,
I personally am so excited that you dug in a little deeper, not only for, your current clients, but for us and others, because I know some of that will resonate with some of the people that have been specifically reaching out and asking these kinds of questions like, tell us more, help us understand this better. So
right, absolutely.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Super
absolutely.
cool.
Why don't you
Super
like bounce back to your, with the doctor? Because I really want you to highlight that part because I think like it's important in these things because people sometimes have a tendency to want to avoid medical professionals and not include them in their journey, which can be, in this case, like a potentially life-threatening mistake, especially if you could potentially be dealing with allergies. So I want you to kind of like, maybe back up just a little bit more and just kind of recover that like journey thing again, like what you said about, the doctor mentioned this and it was off your radar, and just like what you were thinking, how you felt like at the time, just any other thoughts that you might have surrounding that area.
Ye- Yeah, definitely. I think uh, I don't recall that I actually, came out of the gate and indicated that I was feeling off in some way, shape, or
Right,
form, for lack of a better way to put it. But while reviewing some of my lab work, routine lab work that I have done, it was her, she started asking me more questions like, do you feel like you have brain fog? Do you feel like you're not able to think clearly?
right,
Do you seem like you have low energy?
right,
And it was through some of those, general questions that she made me stop and really think. And then obviously I answered in the positive to those.
right,
And then also I think a really big key, which I didn't put two and two together early on, but maybe I can help somebody connect the dots for themselves. Menopause and
Yeah,
food
yeah, absolutely.
sensitivities is a
Absolutely.
thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Had
Absolutely.
no earthly idea that the two went together in the same sentence, number one. And then number two, okay, let's just be honest. I never thought I was going to live long enough to experience what the heck menopause felt like, but here I am. So now, while I'm here in this journey, I get to enjoy all the goodness that comes with it. But primarily with menopause and food sensitivities, it tends to kick in based on, from what I've read, our fluctuating estrogen levels,
Yeah, yeah,
which is
absolutely.
why I mentioned estrogen a few minutes ago when I was about to bust out in tears. But
Right, right.
nonetheless, it affects it also affects our gut microbiome and our gut motility. And the
Yes, absolutely.
microbiome, I think many people are probably familiar with that word. It has to do with the gut bacteria and things like that.
Right,
And the
right.
motility is it slows our digestion down.
Yes.
Now, if we pause and take the food sensitivity hat off for a second and put a cystic fibrosis hat on, I already have a slower digestive system. I already have gut microbiome issues because
Right,
CF affects the whole endocrine and lung. So there's a slowness of all of that that's taking place in the body. So that's another reason why the food sensitivity thing may not have popped up on a traditional CF doctor's radar. So,
right,
but
right,
with all of that, and then it also impacts our histamine regulation.
right.
So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are
just
really
learning, yeah, learning. And I think maybe the physician that I was meeting with at the time, because she was also checking my hormone levels, knowing my age and knowing all of the potential issues that I could be dealing with at that point. I think she was just is intelligent enough to connect the dots
right,
and see that, okay, she's low here, she's low there, she has the brain fog, she has no energy.
right.
So maybe it is a food sensitivity.
Yeah, all
And
the
I was
potential,
just like, no.
all the flags. You tick the boxes.
Exactly, exactly. So, and then, when you add in stress or lifestyle factors,
Right,
you can, that also impacts the
right,
stress on the body. If we're super stressed, then, I had an acupuncturist tell me years ago, stress does this to your organs. It makes them really tense and tight. So they're not going to function optimally. So if you're under a lot of stress, then all you're doing is you're slowing, your whole body's like, and it just doesn't function well. So
yeah,
yeah.
right.
And then one last thought too, because this is definitely me and probably others who live with chronic illness, antibiotics, right? So if we're taking a
Right.
lot of antibiotics, now we're really messing with our gut microbiome and creating just more avenues for a sensitivity to come into our
Yeah,
lives.
absolutely. Yeah, anyone that's taking like, like I say you could say chronic medication, for anything really, that's going to definitely have an impact, on gut microbiome, gut health. But you're right, absolutely. Like more specifically, antibiotics will definitely have a huge impact and are known to have a huge impact on gut microbiome and digestion and those types of things. I completely agree.
Yep.
So
So
I
does
guess
that answer your question on, my conversation with the doctor and
absolutely. I think that really gave us a little more introspection. And also I really liked the call outs that you made on hormone levels and menopause and we can call it premenopause, those
mm-hmm.
and how that impacts, this area of our life and can have an impact on women in this stage of their life journey. I guess to, wrap things up, to as we pull out of this, just a couple of things. First thing, like if the person, and I think we can both agree on this, if the person feels that's listening to this right now that they potentially could have like some sort of allergy or food sensitivity, don't self-diagnose yourself. Don't avoid your health practitioners, your doctors, just because you don't want
Correct. And let me just throw in here really quick, if I may so interrupt you apologetically. Don't try to just start eliminating foods that you think might
to.
be negatively impacting you.
Yes, absolutely.
And I can say this and speak with 100% clarity. Somebody that I'm working with on her own food sensitivity journey. Since I've started this, she's like on her bandwagon is attached to mine, and she's one of the ones that's quite asking these questions. But she felt as if hers was a gluten insensitivity. So she's like, oh, I'll eliminate gluten and I'll feel better.
Right,
So she got tested. Gluten wasn't her issue.
right.
It
Of
was
course, of
something totally different.
course,
So we don't know what we don't know.
absolutely. So I would say second, like to that point, just make a list of suspected foods and the symptoms that you seem to be having, from those, and you know, have them ready to present to your doctor, like whenever you meet with them. And then next, consult with your doctor, have them run an allergy test, right? Have them run a food sensitivities test. And just if the food sensitivities test is not part of the allergy test, just request it to be done. And so then you have a partner to kind of work through these things with. Wouldn't that you agree?
Yes, 100%. We have to advocate for ourselves, right? So
Right,
if, like you said, if you go to a doctor and they're like, oh, well, I can test for allergies, see if you have a nut or a dairy or a whatever allergy. And then you have to say, no, I want this also.
right.
And more importantly, if that person doesn't really listen to you and want to help you in the ways that you feel like you need help, by all means, find somebody who will. And don't be
Yes,
afraid to do it.
yes, there's plenty of doctors out there. Good ones, that would be happy to help you.
Yes. Yeah, we have to
Absolutely.
advocate for ourselves and find the ones the medical professionals who will help us help ourselves heal.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. Well, I think that's it for this episode. We'll get more into the, basics of living with the food sensitivities and the outcomes
And
of
my
your
testing.
testing.
I think we're going to
Yes,
talk
next
about my
time. Yep.
testing next time
Yep.
and all of the wonderful foods that I can no longer partake in and how all of
Right.
that looks and works.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Well, I think we're good for now. Good to see you, Tammy.
You too. Take care. Have a great night.
All right. Ciao. Bye.